a colleague of mine, a technical support engineer at Zabbix, Dmitry Krupornitsky. Let's welcome.
Hello, guys. I hope you see me.
Yes, Dmitry, we can see you. Hey.
Yeah, okay. So I'm glad to be a part of this meetup. So please let me just introduce my screen. One moment. Yeah, I think that's it. So I hope you see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Do you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so thank you. So today I'm going to have a short story about Zabbix maps. I think that Zabbix maps are the most important for grasping all important information from the screen. So what is it all about? Actually, user need maps when there is a possibility or some requirement to have all information on one screen. For example, you have some NoSC team and you have a constant observation of some point of your network. So you need to have real-time data together with some availability data combined, and you want to have it all together situated on one screen. So in this case, maps can be a solution for that. So maps are graphical representation of real-time data. It can be different, it can be load, bandwidth, connectivity, and so on. But maps enable user to have a general view on and grasp all data status at once. So as you see, we have some examples of the maps here. We have small representation of some kind of set of routers. We can have, for example, a real geographical map with data center locations. We may introduce some trigger statuses, and sometimes you can even go to submap, just in case, for example, you need to depict some particular differences between current state and, for example, to go to other data center, for instance. Of course, you can have some events depicted on your map. For example, if an event occurs, so you may have different trigger statuses appear on the screen. You can change the link colors and whatsoever. Maps also enable you to have direct access to all hosts and host groups and all information with, for example, global scripts. So you can click, for example, on any router or on any switch and reboot it right away from the map. And of course, you have a possibility to create multi-level hierarchy here. So for example, you have a general view like geographical map here. Then you can go to submap and have a view on the particular data center there. So everything starts with maps creation. So if you need to create a map, you go to monitoring maps and create map there. While creating a map, you need to specify a set of options. At first, you need to specify an owner. Owner is a very important thing here because owner has all unlimited rights to that particular map. Then, of course, you should provide some name. The name should be unique. Also, you can specify some width and height, and then you can come to background image. The background image should be loaded before into Zabbix, and the limits are usually 1 megabyte per image. So please observe these limits. So then you can specify a set of options. For example, how you want your problems displayed. For example, do you want to expand them or specify a number of problems and whatsoever? So I will show a bit later in my further slides here. So then you may probably want to have all the problems displayed on this map. So you can, for example, click problem display and choose how you want your problem displayed on this map. And later you can specify a set of URLs, for example, to navigate from this map to another, for example, to submap, or to, for example, specify some other maps which you need to link together with current map. So after this, I want to speak about one topic, which is very important as I see, because the topic usually confuses people. These are maps permissions. So Zabbix enables all users to create their own maps, and you are open to create your own maps in Zabbix. Usually an owner is a user who created them. It has all unlimited rights, and an owner can grant and can revoke all permissions from particular users by specifying maps visibility. Maps can be either public, so it means that maps are visible to everybody, and maps can be also private. So it means that they are visible to their owner only and to the specified list of user groups or individual users. So below you can see how it's done. So before you create a map, you should specify to whom you can grant permissions. So for example, you can limit the number of individual users who have an access to that particular map. And you can limit it together with user group as well. Also, please note that maps also favor permissions inside Zabbix. So if you don't have an access, for example, to any particular host group, then you won't have an access to its triggers, and you won't be able to get the statuses. So if you are lacking Zabbix permissions for a particular user who is viewing this map, so these hosts are going to be grayed out, and you won't get any information about them. Triggers are going to be depicted in unknown state. So that's not good. So please take care about permissions, and at least before trying to create a map, think about how you're going to handle all permissions here. So let's say that you have created your maps without any troubles, and usually you do. So then you can start adding elements to your map. And that usually boils down to three things. You can create elements. These are usually host groups, images, different shapes, maps. You can have also triggers depicted on the map. Then you can have some shapes just to visually unite some items on the map. And you can create links. Links are usually visual elements that unite together two elements, and you can have some extra information to show on these links. So for shapes and for links, you can customize look and feel. You have a great variety of different parameters. So that's just like Photoshop. So you just need to specify what you want, and it's up to you. But for like a general recommendation, just try to be small in color variety. So try not to exceed more than 3 or 7 colors, because otherwise your map will look just very confusing. So here, and you can have your icon mapping work for you, because you can use your inventory from Zabbix to have icon mapping. For those who are not familiar with icon mapping, is a way for getting some images linked together with inventory data. So for example, when you create a host, and that host has an operating system like Linux in its operating system inventory name, so you can have a very specific picture to depict this on a map. So everything could be automatically created for you. Just take care about inventory, take care about icon mapping before you start creating maps. So everything here is done via right mouse right click. So it just opens a menu. You can use Control button to unite some items here. It's like playing Warcraft or something like that. So you just unite together, link together, and then just specify some attributes, some properties for your elements of your map. So here, for example, you can unite together two hosts. And for this host, you can specify a label. This label can also have some macro installed for it. So this macro could have some extra information obtained or retrieved directly from database. For example, like here, it's an average for 5 minutes for any particular internet interface. And also, you may use macros for extending link with some extra information at your wish. So you may also add some visual effects. So you may have, for example, a different link to another map. In this case, after left clicking on this element, you may link to another map, thus creating a hierarchy here. So that is very useful when you have, for example, a set of maps, and you want to put them together in a stack and have this stack depicted on, for example, kiosk, and you want to limit user, for example, with its possibility to navigate between different maps. So you may have different images on your map. It is just, for example, your logo or some extra information or whatsoever. You can use also macros, as I already told, to extend information about any particular items on the map. For example, here we can extend a label or caption of a server together with, for example, its IP address, the uptime, or some problems that may have already happened. And by changing the background, you can show the state of a host group. A host group is a set of hosts. For example, you can define it on the Zabbix level, and then together with some aggregate functions, you can depict the status on the map. So that is usually useful. For example, let's say you have some databases and you want to depict their status in one icon in the map. So you may have this host group shown on the map. You should understand that map is just a good way to show information in a very condensed way. So you should try to keep it short. By most cases, you should try to unite different types of information together and have them depicted in small images. Then you can expand these images to bigger ones by clicking or by just navigating via different URLs inside of them. So, for example, here you can, the last one is the lights. You can show the status of trigger. This trigger also can depict, for example, the status of different host groups or any particular server, or just a general status of your system. For example, if you have some threshold for a number of problems or a number of triggers, then it can depict the general status of your system. So you may add different connections and links between different items. That is pretty easy. You just click with Control button pressed into hosts, and then you can specify a link between two elements, at least. Of course, you can alter it, and you can specify different color, labels, coordinates, and so on and so forth. The most important here is that you can use different macro, and this macro will be expanded into their values upon map usage. So, for example, your final user may get some extra information, for example, host name, its uptime, CPU utilization, like it's shown in the middle portion of my slide. So we have a set of different macros, and they are all expanded into their corresponding values upon map usage. Of course, you can expand them in the design time. For that purpose, you have a expand macro link in the top of the map, so it will help you just to understand how it would look like when it's when the map is shown on the screen. You can easily link one map to another by using a map element or custom URL. The one way is shown here. So, for example, you define a map element, then you define a URL to which this map element refers to, and upon this click, you can navigate to different map and thus linking maps together. So you can have a stack of maps, for example. So that's an example of a local area. It's a part of that's a part of the big map. So we have real map of real location, some kind of real location. Here we have different cameras. Each of them is each of those is monitored by Zabbix. So Zabbix receives some sort of their status, for instance. And by having different colors for links, we can easily tell that some cameras are online, some are offline, and also we can have some status, for example, for optical modem in the top of the screen. So you don't need to go to problem portion of Zabbix, so you'll have possibility just to grasp the screen, understand what is happening in your area, and this will save a lot of time to you just to understand what's happening there. So you may have different colorful links, you may have different captions for these links, you may use macros of various kinds for depicting some extra information. And by creating a stack of maps, you can have a root point. So for example, the root points is just will help just logically zoom out your map. Then you may zoom in by switching to any particular map. For example, in the future slides, I will show you how to do it. Then you can, for example, zoom into some particular portion of this big map. Here is shown also a real example of high availability with menu. For instance, we have several database. We have database nodes, we have several server nodes and front-end nodes. If something happens, we would like to have possibility to reboot them just from the map without the need to go deeper in Zabbix and trying to find the host, the corresponding host, or even open a CLI for that. So we just define global scripts, and we can specify some parameters for these global scripts. And out of map, we can click on a particular node, for example, to disable it, or for example, to reboot it, and or switch some parameters. And upon our click, a script can be executed, and this script can lead to some functionality. For instance, you can fence some defective node out of cluster, or you, for example, can reboot your server. Who else? So that is usually very convenient when you have a special team designed for monitoring, and this team has the chores of looking at the map and process a limited set of operations. So in this case, you have possibility to limit the operations just to predefined set of actions, and you can define these actions inside scripts, and thus this team won't make anything bad to your system at all. So, for example. And also that is very convenient to have it in a kiosk mode where you have all your controls limited and just giving a basic functionality. So maps enable you with possibilities to perform such a predefined set of actions. So you may have different problem icon views, and while defining your map, you can specify how problems are displayed with the map element. For example, you may have your problem expanded, and you may have a problem expanded with some extra data for triggers and for problems. You may have different number of unknowledged and knowledge problems. So, and you may have just a number of and expand most critical one problem here. So everything is up to you. You can design. You can try different variants. So everything is open. Just feel free to test everything here. Maps are usually best fitted with Zabbix dashboard, and maps are usually best viewed inside dashboard. By uniting them together with map navigation tree shown here, for example, you have a possibility to rotate between maps that are united usually in a stack, for example. So we can have an overview map, then we can drop down to, for example, some data center view, and so on and so forth. You may have a possibility to retrospectively view, for example, previous problems by clicking on time shifting portion of Zabbix dashboard. And you have possibility to have problems also depicted next to the map, so you can easily tell what happened when and what was the problem at that particular time. So everything is open, and also the graph widget is best fitted here. So I agree with my previous colleague that graphs enables you with huge power to depict information here, and while when uniting together with maps, just open the possibility to have a better way to extract information from visual elements of Zabbix and understand better what is happening in your system. So as everything in Zabbix, you are open to work together. You are open to work together with API, Zabbix RESTful API, and have your maps created with some API calls. So that even leads to very simple things when you can have your when you can have your maps created dynamically, for example, from a script or even from a bash script if you wish. So for example, when you have your new data come and you may have just one map created for that purpose. So that's open, so just feel free to do it. And of course, you may find some extra resources on our Zabbix share website. So for instance, we have a very good working plugin for Google depiction of different, for example, data centers, some hosts around the world. So you just can integrate it into your system and use it. There are some examples also. And of course, there are some solutions for the map integrations, but everything is on the share, so feel free to give it a try. There are some also interesting things there. So I think I'm all here. So do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you a lot, Dmitry. We have a few. So once upon a time, clicking on a submap opened it directly. Now we have to click on a submap. So I guess now it takes a few clicks to open a submap. Is there any way to return this legacy behavior, or maybe how would you work around this?
I think I've shown, so this is the way. Let me just navigate here.
Don't forget to share your screen if you wish to show it.
Yes, of course. So here, I think you see. So if you add in a map element, then you can have a new sub-item, for example, like submap appear, and after clicking on this, you will just navigate to the target map. So yeah.
I guess the idea is it takes a few clicks, right? You have to click on the map, and then you have to click on the submap instead of just clicking once and just moving directly to it.
Unfortunately, I can't come up with some idea about this.
So yeah, I guess there wouldn't be like a native way, maybe rewriting a front end a bit, or something like that. Yeah, but once again, I think maybe there could be a feature request or even a bug report for that we would.
Yeah, that's a good. Appreciate. Yeah, that's a good feature request. So you can just feel free to issue a new feature request for that.
Otherwise, like I said, you can probably rewrite the front end, the PHP files yourself to kind of work around this. But yeah, of course, when you do the upgrade and the files get overwritten, you will have to kind of re-implement that every time. Then we have a bit more complex question, and sorry if I butcher it a bit. The wording is a bit complex on it. So, so the idea is, can we essentially dynamically create multiple hosts like automatically? Let's say we have a F5 load balancer and we have different pools, right? And how can we, for example, like monitor all of the states of all of the pools dynamically instead of manually creating a host element for each of the pools, for example?
There are several ways for doing this. Actually, you can use API, of course. So you can just create it via RESTful API. Then, of course, low-level discovery, I think.
Well, the low-level discovery wouldn't necessarily like put it on the map. Low-level discovery would discover.
Yes, but it will create a host, but everything about the map, so it's just an API calls. So I think the API is best suited here.
Yeah, I also
it's just a general answer to all things like automatically create something. So just API and actual map create call, and you're all set here. It's actually simple. Then you can create all map elements with any further API calls here.
I would even suggest to, for example, create an example map that has an approximate placement of what you have.
Idea, yes.
Then use the map API, one of the map API calls that would get the existing map just to see how it would look like, how it's received via the API, and then based on it create the other calls. like map update, map create, and so on.
Yes, actually you can create, yes, like a map, but then you can clone it, for example, for any particular pool. And then if you wish to do any further steps, like creating new items here. So you can have like a golden image for a map and just clone it.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly like a golden image. That's the keyword here. Yes, thank you a lot, Dmitry.
Thank
that
you.
was great.